super effective and happens all the time, even with all the security measures in place. There is a lot of factors that might contribute to an attack. So I'm gonna go over some of them, starting from the bottom left, alert fatigue. Probably a lot of you remember the 2013 attack, the Target data breach. Their security system alerted on the invasion. They alerted the fact that there were bad guys on the network, but the security team was so overwhelmed with other things that they didn't pay attention to the notifications, and the attack happened successfully. And the consequences were huge for Target and other customers as well. Next, missing patches. So, yes, missing patches. So another episode that you all might recall was the Kronos ransomware attack that happened in December 2021. The attack was made possible because a known vulnerability in a Citrix patch that had been patched 2 years earlier was there, and they failed to patch it. So that's why the attack happened. And it took down a lot of organizations, public sector, private sector, which means you need to be aware and be patching your environment. I know it's annoying, etc., but it's very important. It used to be called Patch Tuesday, but it should be called now Patch Every Day, because they come out every day. Next is poor password policy. I think we all know someone who shares around a password too much, or uses the same Netflix password to a same Netflix account, right? I'm guilty for that. But how often old applications that use privileged services to access large data sets have the same password and are not updated? So this is very important. Making sure that passwords stay cycled and up to date is key to securing your environment. Lack of network segmentations. In my previous lives, I've dealt with a lot of companies where things like DMZ didn't exist, and they had access directly into certain servers for web application, and maybe those web app servers had a few too many servers running on them. So being able to segment things into different zones, your DMZ, your production, your management, and your backups, and making sure that all the delineations of not only access but roles through that segmentations are there is very important. Next, untested backup and slow restore time. What good is a backup if you have never tested it, or you don't know if it's going to work in the event of an emergency? So automating the backup process and regularly testing it is crucial to ensure that all workloads, whether a file level, volume level, or OS level, are backed up consistently and can be recovered in case of an emergency. And when it comes to critical pieces of infrastructure like databases, time is essence. So the ability to quickly restore and get these systems back up and running is crucial again to minimize downtime and keep the organization running smoothly. Next, misconfigurations. So a simple thing like not commenting out properly in a configuration or a wrong number in an IP address can make a world difference when we start talking about misconfiguration and bad actors getting in. And finally, inconsistent policy. After more than 2 years of dealing with the COVID pandemic and its aftermath, in the rush to provide remote services, many organizations didn't take the necessary steps to secure their environment in their new location. So it's important to remember that cloud service providers like AWS, they have a shared responsibility model. So they take care of the infrastructure, they make sure of uptime, but you have to take care of your data. So now, from a best practice point of view, I'm gonna go over some high-level things that you can do in your environment today to make sure that you can recover, get back up and running in the event of something happened. They're gonna be a little like more AWS related because of the event, but they can be also for other clouds, on-premise, or SaaS offerings. So yeah, I think you can see it looks like the NIST cybersecurity framework. The 5 functions here are identify what you got, protect it, detect and attack, respond, and then recover. When it comes to data backup, think of it as your break glass in case of an emergency. So it should be your last resort. Ideally, you want to catch any issues early on to minimize the amount of data you need to recover. From a data tagging perspective, if you have certain levels of SLA requirements for those workloads, it's important to tag them appropriately to make sure that you assigned the proper policy and that they are backed up at the correct interval and that they are tested. Now, data locality. Obviously, we're here in California. There are different data centers through the West Coast. And if you want data, if you don't want that data egressing to another data center or even from AWS itself, you can add location tags so that if something is copied outside, you can start getting alerts. And if you have an IDP policy, you can use that and make sure that data stays consistent across. Protection. The question should be, how am I going to protect my data and my backups? So here you can leverage the rule 32110. I'm going to talk more about that in a few slides. And use immutable storage and make sure that your backups are always verified at every single point of time. The next points are related to detection and response to an incident. So here it's important for everyone to have monitoring alerts and have orchestration rules that can react fast and without human intervention. This is crucial because the more human involvement there is, the greater potential for human error. And last but not least, recovery. What's the point of having X amount numbers of backup if you're not if you're not able to restore in time or at all? So therefore, making sure that you will be able to restore data that is clean, fast, flexible, and secure is vital. Now the rule 321. You probably know it's the golden rule of data protection. The rule says that to ensure resiliency, you need to have three different copies of data on 2 different medias and 1 offsite copy. So those 3 copies of data, they can be an initial instance, 1 backup copy close to it, and then a secondary copy elsewhere. The 2 different medias, I don't know why they put their VHS tape. Yeah, but yes, my media team put there. But yes, it's fine. We're school. Yes, old school.
It's current. It's actually anyway.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what tapes are. Well, some other people can tell you what tapes are.
Yeah. No, I know what it is, but yeah, sure. And then the one is that offsite copy. So when we start looking at that offsite copy, what it looks like traditionally in the past, it looked either a local disk targeted in a colo facility or another location, or you were going out to tape. But today you can start leveraging things like S3 or storage gateway. Now, because of the evolution of ransomware and other malware attacks, they added 1 and 0 to the rule. This additional 1 means that we recommend at least 1 copy of data to be resilient, either through being air-gapped offline or immutable. You have to do that because ransomware and other malware attacks, they know perfectly well that if you delete the backups, they have a much better chance of getting into your environment and extorting you for money. And then the added 0 is for automated backup verification to ensure that your data is valid and usable for recovery. You cannot recover data that has been captured incorrectly. And it's really important that you have the ability to lock down your backups so that they can't be deleted, even if an adversary has gotten admin credentials to your backup infrastructure, your storage infrastructure, or everything else. It's also very useful, Amazon S3 object lock, in the occurrence of accidental deletions or internal threats. Now imagine this scenario. All your backups are in the same AWS account where your production data resides, and one day your production data gets corrupted. Your chances of losing that data, all the production data, the critical data, is very high. And then you can probably lose also the backup data with it. So that's why it's important to isolate the production workloads from the other services, such as testing, data protection, and key management. This separation provides an additional layer of protection in case an account on the production side gets compromised, as the attacker won't have access to the other account. Now, list privilege access permissions. You don't need to give things more permissions than they actually need. And when you think from a legacy perspective, we used to have a service account and Active Directory. It had global admin. That's what we put into the software, and it accessed everything. You could do whatever you want, and if that account got compromised, it was a bad day. But what we are able to do now with the APIs available between RBAC and IAM is basically break down and create specific roles for specific accounts and get a little bit more granular on how we need to access things. And obviously, you always want to start very small, and then as more permissions are needed, you can add those. And finally, encrypt the data that you put up in the cloud and have a good way to keep track of that and manage the security context around that. Now, with the digital transformation that many organizations have already gone through or are going through, the migration to new platforms, the migration to new locations, data up in the cloud that used to be on-prem, it's important to think about if you are actually protecting your data. The market still struggles to protect ecosystems, especially the ones that are hybrid, because we have on one hand legacy backup solutions that don't successfully manage to back up the modern apps, especially within the cloud. They don't stretch across the cloud successfully, and legacy backup frequently doesn't integrate well with things like S3 object lock and compliance mode. So it can give you the protections that you need, but not enough to protect from these new ransomware and malware attacks. And on the other hand, we have platform native solutions. So backup tools that are born in the cloud. They are great for that particular platform. However, these backup solutions are designed to protect only that platform. They don't allow you to have that cloud mobility in place. And usually these services can be feature lacking because at the end of the day, it's not their bread and butter. Like backup is not their bread and butter. Well, and that being said, I want to just mention Veeam. Veeam has taken a pretty good approach at this. I don't know if you know, Veeam is very known for backup for VMs, but we have also backup for cloud, backup for SaaS, backup for Kubernetes, custom. We even have someone that works there. Backup for Salesforce, M365. So it's very easy to protect all your workloads that are on AWS. So either S3, EC2, RDS, VPC, and so forth. And we allow that cloud mobility. So you can go from cloud to cloud, cloud back to on-prem, on-prem back to cloud. And this is key because you wanna own your data. You don't want to be, stuck in one platform, and then when you have to move the data to another platform, you have to pay egress fees, and it's a headache. It takes a lot of time. And nowadays, a lot of organizations, they are multi-cloud. So it's not just one cloud. So this is very helpful, and that we have tools also, Veeam backup and replication. You can have all of them in the same place, and you can manage them, monitor them, which is great. So it's very important to have that ability to use your data and the flexibility of moving around. And finally, the Veeam backup for AWS, you can find it on the AWS Marketplace. You can try, there is a free edition. There are no limitations on functionality. You can back up to 10 AWS instances. And you can, test and evaluate the solution before committing to pay for the other version. And you can also try the VBR that I just mentioned, which is our bread and butter, which you can connect all the backups. So if you have on-prem, if you have M365, if you have AWS, you can connect all of them together. And then here, I'm gonna leave this screen on. You can see the long list of services that we integrate inside of AWS. Thank you. If you have questions, feel free.